job nobody wants. President Obama last week fired his Director of National Intelligence, Dennis Blair, without an immediate successor in place. And now it's becoming clear just how difficult filling that position may be. The Wall Street Journal reported this week that a number of candidates, including CIA Director Leon Panetta and former Nebraska Senator Chuck Hagel, have turned down the job, which was created by Congress in 2004 after the 9/11 Commission identified shortcomings in the coordination of the country's 16 intelligence agencies. But the legislation that established the DNI doesn't clearly define what authority the office has. Mr. Blair was the third director in 5 years. Gabriel Schoenfeld is a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute and author of the new book, Necessary Secrets: National Security, the Media, and the Rule of Law. Gabe Schoenfeld, good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so why do you think Dennis Blair was fired?
A series of screw-ups starting with the very beginning of his tenure in office. First mistake was trying to appoint Charles Freeman as Director of National Intelligence, of the NIC, National Intelligence Council.
Somebody very close to the Saudis.
Right, and to the Chinese had said that the massacre at Tiananmen Square, the Chinese hadn't been tough enough in cracking down. I mean, just an unthinkable appointment.
But can anyone make this DNI work?
No, I don't think so. The way it's structured is wrong. He has a lot of responsibility and not enough power. And it's basically been what many of us predicted, that they've grafted a new level of bureaucracy over the existing...
1,500 people in that office.
Right, and they have a lot of power. They try to exercise power over these bureaucracies, but actually they're just a lot of infighting. And I think the chaos now is really quite alarming inside the intelligence community. Who is in charge? We have competing power centers, the White House, the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA, all basically at war with each other at a time when we should be fighting our adversaries.
Well, what if the president said, in appointing a replacement, look, you're my guy, you run the show, told Leon Panetta, look, you need to answer to him. You told the head of the Pentagon Intelligence Service, you answer to him. Could the president direct that and make it better?
I don't think so without really changing the legislation, because the budgetary authority is the key thing here, and the Director of National Intelligence just doesn't have that, particularly over the large chunk of intelligence money that's spent by the Defense Department.
So it sounds like you're saying you'd be better off just don't appoint a replacement, just kind of let the agency melt away and go back to what we were before.
Well, I think we do need to revisit the reform of 2004. It's not worked out well. And it really creates dangers for the country, because we have like mounting intelligence channels, not just terrorism. We have a budding crisis in North Korea. We really need to be focused on that rather than our internal organizations.
Okay, let's turn to your book. You argue the book is about the tension between national security and the public's right to know. You argue that we're not doing enough now. The government is not doing enough now to protect its secrets. Why not, and what should we do about it?
Well, really, it's an astonishing thing, but after the attacks of September 2001, we've had some astonishing leaks that really compromise some of our basic counterterrorism programs. Two of these appeared in the New York Times.
Right.
One in 2005, one in 2006.
One was the communications intercept capability with terrorists overseas, and the other was the terror financing links. And you think that those really did compromise our security?
Right. I think there's really little doubt that they did compromise. And I just think look back at the Times Square bombing of last month. The perpetrator of that, was communicating by disposable cell phones. That's a way of evading the NSA surveillance. He was using his funds. Didn't come by wire transactions. They came by courier, which is a hard way to move money, but it's a way that leaves us blind. And those techniques are really perhaps a result of those leaks.
Well, why is the federal government so leaky?
Well, it's always been that way, and I think that's part of our system of rule. I mean, the Senate Intelligence Committee did a study just of one 6-month period. 147 different pieces of classified information made their way into the press. That's normal, though. What's abnormal is when you have operational intelligence programs published in the press, details that are really key and that give away our sources and methods.
All right, so what do we do about it?
Well, we need to change the climate, first of all, and I think that's what I'm hoping to do with my book, is to try and explain to the press and explain to the public what's at stake in the publication of these things. That's a first and essential step. But beyond that, I think when you have truly egregious leaks, one, you can, under certain circumstances, go after journalists who are publishing things that endanger the public. You can also
prosecute journalists. Now, wait a minute. Now, why not just prosecute the leakers, who are, after all, take an oath and are violating the law?
Absolutely, and I think that's the first place to go. However, in practice, it's extremely hard to uncover them. Just think, in our entire history, there have only been 3 successful prosecutions of leakers. And
is that all?
That's it. And one of them under the Obama administration, and now they're prosecuting a second. So Obama, in some ways, if the second case goes to trial and leads to a conviction, he'll be the first president to put two of them in prison.
But if you prosecute journalists, you're talking about an uproar. I mean, even subpoenaing journalists in national security cases is an uproar. Wouldn't a president be inviting a huge backlash?
I think it would be. Well, it would be a real battle. However, if the consequences of the leak are grave, I think the president would be justified. And we had a case like this in World War II where Roosevelt started the prosecution of the Chicago Tribune for revealing the fact that we were breaking Japanese codes. If it turned out the Japanese hadn't noticed this story, but if they had, that prosecution would have gone forward and there would have been a conviction.
I think the answer here is media self-restraint, not for prosecution. But this is an interesting debate that you've opened up. Gabe Schoenfeld, thanks so much for being here.